Hey guys, Matt Allen here. Welcome back to Tactical Bassin. Today we've got another buyer's guide for you. We're talking swim baits. From the biggest to the smallest, these are the baits that we trust to consistently get swim bait bites. Swim baits are one of those categories that can just spin an angler out. It's a giant category and you can go broke in a hurry. There are a lot of different baits to choose from. There are really expensive baits to choose from. So it's not hard to spend a lot of money and still not know if you've even got the right baits. Now, we recently, about a month ago, did an in-depth swim bait video covering all sorts of baits, different ways to fish them, literally everything you need to know about swim bait fishing. So we're not going into that today, but we will link that video. If you want to learn more about how to swim bait, we'll link that video in the description along with all these baits. But the goal today is to help you really narrow it down. So we've got 4 soft baits, a handful of hard baits, and then some of those small little finesse swim baits as well as a few rods, just to really help you narrow things down depending on your fishing style. So with that, let's jump into it. I've got 4 soft baits here that are really going to help you cover the gamut. No matter where you are in the country, these are baits that you can rely on. The first one is going to be weedless. Okay, this is a Megabass Mag Draft. It's actually the Mag Draft Freestyle. Okay, that means that you can rig it on an exposed jig head or you can rig it weedless like this. I prefer to rig it on a beast hook, completely weedless. That's what I like this bait for. You can take this bait and fish it through grass beds, you can fish it through rock, you can fish it through laydowns. It will do virtually anything. And that's what makes it such a great bait. It's a fairly inexpensive bait, and it's actually the only one of these baits that you need to supply the hook for. Okay, that's an owner beast hook. And again, I'll link everything in the video description. But that's a bait that will do all sorts of different jobs for you. Next one up, same thing. This is the Baka Burrito. Mike Buka Bull Shad Swim Baits, they pour this bait. Now this is a silicone bait, but it's a boot tail style bait with a ton of action. Now because it's a silicone bait, that means a couple of things. First off, it's going to be a little bit more expensive than a traditional bait, just a little bit, but you have incredible durability out of these baits. They will last a long time. Comes with a jig hook, an exposed jig hook, which I love. Now this bait can be fished a variety of ways. It's got a lot of weight in it, so you can fish it deep, 15, 20, 30 foot, throw it out, let it fall to the bottom and just slow roll that bait. But where this bait really shines for me is its versatility. If you fish it faster, think spinnerbait, chatterbait, throw it towards the bank and wind it back. At those faster speeds, it has such an aggressive kick and wobble that it almost feels like a chatterbait on the end of your rod. Not as drastic as a chatterbait, but it has a ton of vibration. And that makes this a very unique bait that can be used in a variety of circumstances. These two together are an amazing 1-2 punch. You've got your depths covered, you've got fishing through grass and other cover covered as well. The third one is going to be this guy right here. This is the Savage Gear RTF Trout. Now this guy comes in a variety of colors. This one has this amazing purple flake in it. But this one, the kokanee, the trout, there's multiple trout, there's carp, there's some great colors depending on what you want to imitate. But this is my favorite all around color. Whether your lake has trout in it or not, whether it has shad in it or not, this is one of those colors that's just neutral and can be fished anywhere. Now what I love about this bait is that it has a wedge style of tail, so a much slower tail, and it will work in cold water. This bait will sit upright on the bottom and you can fish it very slowly. So this is your winter into springtime chucking. Now you can, on a warm day, you can throw it shallow, do the same thing you're doing here, just slow roll it, but it's that more subtle action as opposed to that hard, aggressive vibration. But in the heart of winter, you can also throw this bait, let it go to bottom, and go ultra, ultra slow. What I really like about this Savage gear is that it's called the RTF. That stands for ready to fish. So it comes with a great jig hook, and I really like the exposure of this jig hook. Some jig hooks sit too low, some sit too high. If they sit too high, a lot of fish, when they come in to eat it, will hit the back and clamp down rather than getting all of it. So I really like the exposure of that jig hook straight out of the pack. And I love that it comes rigged with a stinger hook already on it, and it sits down inside of these fins. It's a great design. It really is ready to fish. And that makes that an excellent choice. Now the last of these larger soft baits is for the guy who's imitating bluegill. This is a Savage gear as well. This is the line through bluegill. So this hook can be removed. Now it can be on the belly, or it can be up here in this back slot as well. I prefer to fish it in the belly most of the time. I just like how the bait tracks. I can go a lot faster. I really like that presentation, but the line goes through the nose and then you tie it onto your hook and put your hook in place. But that is a great bluegill imitator. It's got a tight kick to it. It tracks really well in the water. I can fish it fast or slow around cover. I've been really, really happy with that guy. Now switching gears, we've got all sorts of leaves dropping on us. Switching gears to hard baits, and then we'll get to the finesse baits. Hard baits are a different animal on their own, but they're such a fun way to fish. So I've narrowed it down as much as I can to really help you guys. In the past, we've talked a lot about glide baits. Glide baits are an incredible way to fish. They just draw a core response out of fish. It's incredible. One of the biggest issues with swim baits is the number of fish that follow you up and don't eat the bait, especially if you're in clear water. The benefit of a glide bait is that you can see those fish coming and then you can actually do something about it. You could twitch the rod, snap it, pop it, and sometimes get those fish to react. That is a huge advantage. So I break glide baits into cover and open water. Cover glide baits are smaller, they twitch better, they have aggressive movements. Open water glides, again, in depth, we have all that in that other video, but short version, open water glides will go slower and have a wider swim to them. So for an open water glide, my favorite is that Bait Sanity Explorer. This is a new color, and that's why I wanted to talk about it. This is TW Steelhead, and the Bait Sanity just took a huge leap in realism with that color right there. It looks good. But that is my favorite open water glide bait if I was just going to have one. Now, for cover glides, I couldn't choose. I grabbed two. This is the S-Waver 168, a bait that we rely on day in and day out all over the country. It's an incredible glide bait. We typically throw it in the bolder colors. This is bluegill, another is light trout, another is the warden. Those are just those bold, standout colors that fish will rise up to, and then you can aggressively snap the rod and that bait will dart and get those fish to eat it. The other one is the Sneaky Pete. Just a little bit larger bait. It's got some sound to it. It's got a tighter action and it's a very aggressive. You can really snap it and work it. But these two baits are both fairly inexpensive, especially in the world of swim baits. Especially hard swim baits. They're very inexpensive. So some people can afford to get both, but both of these are great cover glide baits. One that doesn't really have a category is the Ganterelle, a Jackal Ganterelle. This is I hate to say my favorite, but I think it is my favorite of the bluegill imitating hard baits. It's definitely the one that I throw the most. This bait you fish a little bit differently. It's not as aggressive. I do a slow, steady reel and then I just stop. And when I stop, the bait will just glide off. And then you just continue again and stop, and it'll swim and glide. And they just come up and latch onto it. I've had incredible results with that. Not just all over the country, we've had some results with this in other parts of the globe as well. It's an amazing bait. For fishing faster, the bull shad. The bull shad in either a 6-inch or a 7-inch slow sink is about all you need. There are some other great options, but if I could just choose one, I'd grab that bull shad and go. Now this is your speed burning bait. So if you want to fish slower, turn to those glide baits. If you want to fish faster, try and get a hard, aggressive reaction strike, turn to that bull shad. It doesn't take a lot of baits to be able to fish successfully, even if you're trying to match every circumstance like I am now. This isn't very many baits. And most people don't need all of this. You either need a cover glide or an open water bait. You either need a weedless or you need an exposed hook, right? Not everybody needs every bait. So we've really got it narrowed down today. 2 more. These are Topwaters. The first one, I'm gonna call it the budget option, okay? This is a Spro 8-inch trout. Now this guy has been around for a while, and I can't even tell you how many fish I've caught on this thing. I specifically throw it in the floater. We're talking about topwater now. I've got 2 topwaters for you. This guy in the floating version, it does not have a bill on it, 3-piece bait. What I love about this bait is, again, I can be aggressive. This is a bait that I throw out and I'll burn it a little, pause, burn, pause. That bait will run and then cut, run, cut. And those fish will just come shooting after it. And again, in the world of swim baits, it's a very affordable option. And again, I have lost count of the number of fish that I've caught on the 8-inch Spro. It is just a fish producing bait. The other one, now this is a higher end bait. If you wanna take the leap, if you want to try a custom style bait, a higher end swim bait, here's a wake bait, more specifically a rat, that I recommend. So this is the PB rat. They make it in a 2-piece, a 3-piece, and a 4-piece. If I'm just going to get one, I've played with these a ton. I think the one that I would get is the 3-piece. If you wanna try a higher end bait that pushes a ton of water, so it's a build bait, it pushes a big V on the surface of the water. When you're steady reeling and that bait's kicking, there's just this V of water pushing. And fish see that from a long ways away and they'll rise up to it. Being that it's a 3-piece, it has a very fluid action behind that bill. And it really does look like a rat. But whether you're trying to imitate a rat or just throw a large wake bait, a rat can do a great job regardless. And I've been very happy with that one. One thing about this bait that really makes it the standout for me, there are a lot of great rats on the market, and I own a bunch of them. What makes this a standout is they pour it, it's a resin bait, it's not a wooden bait, and it's poured with the color in it. So as I beat one up, and in fact this one has enormous hooks on it. Don't judge me for the hooks. This one's still tied on from a muskie fishing trip, okay? So I upgraded these giant treble hooks. But you can see where even these huge hooks have started to wear into that bait. Hopefully you can see it a little bit. It doesn't matter that it's wearing in because the color is poured all the way through the bait. So you talk about spending a little bit more for a higher end bait, but it's a bait that won't break and won't wear out. You can continue to fish it over the years, and over time, you'll cut grooves into any bait. Like look at this S-Waver as an example. Big grooves cut in it from the hooks. But as that's happening, you're not losing your paint job because it's not a paint job, it's poured in. I think that that is genius. And with that, we wrap up the big baits. Now for smaller baits, there's no question the Keitech is the gold standard these days. If you're throwing a finesse swim bait, whether that's a 4.8 or a 2.8, Keitech is just the gold standard that everything is judged by. But I've got 2 more for you this year that I really think are worth taking a look at. We have done a ton of damage with them. The first one is the Largo Shad. A couple of sizes, 4-inch, 3-inch. But the Largo Shad is more of a true, I'm gonna rip this pack open and show you. It's more of a true shad profile. More of a shad shape. And it's got this extra little flap here that you can leave or you can rip it out, and that will change the action just a bit. So you've got options with this bait. But I have done really, really well with that Largo this year. The other one, and this is not a new bait by any means, but it's a bait that a lot of the country overlooks, and that's the Gambler Easy line. A lot of people have heard of the Big Easy. A lot of Florida guys fish that thing religiously. This is the Easy Swimmer. This is one size down from the Big Easy. It's a very basic swim bait. There's not a whole lot to it. But once in a while, you run into one of those baits that just has it. We refer to it as it. It has the magic. It has that special something that the fish they just eat it. They just react to it. And that Easy Swimmer is one of those baits that just has it. So if it's not something that you've tried, they're really inexpensive. It is worth trying. You can rig it on a jig head. You could rig it on the back of a swim jig. You can rig it on a beast hook and fish it weedless. You could put it on a flashy swimmer. All sorts of different ways to rig those little finesse swim baits, but a great, great option. Again, guys, down in the video description, we link every single one of these baits as well as all of the colors, because the purpose of these videos are to help you guys make educated decisions. We are right, if you're watching this as it comes out, we are right in the middle of the holiday sales. You can save a ton of money. That was not done by mistake. We wanted you guys to have this information while you could still buy expensive baits or expensive rods and gear on sale and save some money. The idea here is to get an arsenal together to be a great swim bait fisherman without breaking the bank. Now, last but not least is rods. If I could only have one, it's this guy right here. This is a Loomis 966, IMX Pro 966, paired with a Tranx 300. That is my day in and day out swim bait combo. And the reason why is that I can fish jig hook baits. I can fish treble hook baits. I can fish hard baits. I can fish soft baits. It will do it all. And that is very, very hard to find in a swim bait rod. That usually takes 2 rods. So that is why I like this. And you can see, I mean, my gear is beat up. I fish these things hard. But that is my day in and day out combo. But there are also a couple of really good budget options. So here are 2 of those. Now, I didn't even bring budget reels, but I'll link those in the description as well. But these are the budget rods. This is a Dobyns Fury. The 806 is a phenomenal rod. The Dobyns Fury will save you a bunch of money, and it is a great treble hook rod. It's fantastic for it. That 806 just does a dynamite job. This is the other one. This is a Savage Gear Squad rod. Now, this is the 8-foot heavy, and again, it is an amazing treble hook rod. But it also comes in an extra heavy, and I believe it comes in an extra heavy as well, that will help you switch over and throw jig hook and large swim baits. But again, doing it on a budget, which is fantastic. So with that, again, everything will be in the video description. We hope this helps you. If you have questions about any of these baits or rods, reels, something you need answered, leave it below. Comment. We will do everything we can to get back to everybody. We're here to help you make educated decisions. That's what this is for. So if we can and you have questions, we'll do all we can to answer and help you with that as well. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk to you soon.